Welcome to another episode of Mask Off, where we tell it exactly the way it is. Be sure to tune in each and every week for brand new episodes featuring real people, real issues, and real solutions. Mask Off by Shauna Turner.
All right, hi.
Hey.
State your name.
My name is Lyra Jackson.
All right, Lyra, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
I'm the oldest out of 3 children. I have 2 sisters. I'm the oldest. I'll be 30 next month. I'm married. I'm pretty much established.
Great,
I'm comfortable
great.
right now.
All right, and you had some tragedy in your life, so would you mind talking about your tragedy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, as far as me and my dad, well, he was my stepdad, and he raised me since I was about 9 or 8 months old. Him and my mom, before my sisters were even thought of, they held it down when it came down to me. And then boom, 2 more sisters, and he just always been in my life.
I could relate to that. So really, everybody can make kids, right?
Yeah.
But I never said my father. He's on my arm. He's gone now too. But he was my father because my father was not there.
Right.
So he treated me as his daughter, and
Yes.
like you said, I could relate to that.
Yes, my dad. I don't call him my stepdad. I call him my dad.
Yes.
He had my name tatted on his arm. You know.
Absolutely.
Right in order, as if I was his first, his
Yes.
second, and then the third
Absolutely.
child. So yeah, that was definitely my daddy. I was the daddy's girl before, and then the youngest one, she ended up taking that spot. But
I get that. I have one of those too. So tell us about your father.
Hardworking, never told me and my sisters no. Someone who, us being 3 girls, our mom was going to be hard on us, but when it came down to him, he wasn't hard on us at all. He spoiled us rotten, really rotten. Always said yes. Mom said no. We can go to him. He said yes. Him and my mom were like the ideal parents. So the neighborhood we grew out in, everybody was like single parent homes, but they were the mom or the dad of the whole neighborhood. So sleepovers, Christmas, all the kids, we used to all, like, the whole neighborhood would meet up at my house and just walk to the bus stop together. Because that's what type of parent, like, they was everybody's parent.
They were the villages.
Yes, they
and that's
were.
what is much needed today. I always talk about that as well.
Yes.
So that's awesome. So are you able to go to your dad and have conversations with him now?
No.
Why is that?
Because August 11, 2015, he was murdered by a man named Angelo Perry.
Wow. Do you recall the moments of when you found out about your dad being murdered?
Yeah, so my birthday is actually August 10th. So so what happened was I could just say, well, the day of my actual birthday, my dad was the day of the killing. He was at my house. He was fixing on my younger sister's car because her car had actually had broke down like the day or 2 before. And my middle sister was here from New York because she was living in New York. She was a fashion stylist. So she had actually came down for my birthday to celebrate. And a cousin of ours that had passed away too, he was his mom was throwing him like a birthday celebration. So she had came down for that. So we was all here after all of us being together after like 3 or 4 months because my middle sister was gone. So we were, he came to my house, he was fixing on her car. And to this day, I even tell my husband that I felt funny because my dad didn't look the same, but it wasn't like in a bad way. Usually he comes there, he sit down, he talk, but it's like this time he sat there a little longer. And he came there, he fixed on the car, and I was actually supposed to ride with him, but I didn't. And then I didn't hear from him or hear anything until 9 o'clock that night. And my phone was dead. I thought it was on the charger. I went to sleep early that day for some reason. I went to sleep like 7 o'clock. and about 9 o'clock at night, I heard like banging at my door. So I thought it was like one of my husband's friends. I'm like, you know, get up, get the door. Somebody's at the door. And it was one of my best friends. And she lived in the same neighborhood as me, but she stayed across the street. And she came knocking on the door. And she's like, you know, why are you still in your house? So she's like, no one came and got you? No one talked? Like, you didn't hear from anybody? So I'm like, no, what's going on? So I'm thinking something happened in the neighborhood or whatever, because the neighborhood I was living in at the time wasn't all great of a neighborhood. What the surrounding areas wasn't a good neighborhood. So,
And what neighborhood was this?
I was living in Harbor North, in Harper Square in Portsmouth.
Gotcha.
So like that was like the Prentice Park, Brighton area in Portsmouth.
Gotcha.
So I'm thinking that something, you know, happened in that area. So she's like, no. And I could tell she had been crying. So I'm like, what's wrong? So at this point, I'm getting nervous and scared because she's still not saying nothing. So she gives me her phone and she goes on Facebook. And she's like, where your phone at? So my husband go gets my phone. My phone's dead. His phone is not dead, but he sees all the messages. And before he could say anything, I'm on Facebook and I'm just seeing like, sorry for your loss. Sorry, he was a good guy. So I automatically thought it was like my cousins or an uncle, not thinking that it was my dad. So when I saw the news article, I seen it said man gets shot and robbed in Virginia Beach, pronounced dead on the scene. So I just like blanked out before she could even tell me that it was him. And it was like the longest ride. I lived in Portsmouth. My mom lived in Virginia Beach. It was like the longest ride to get. It felt like it took like all day, all night to just take a 20-30 minute drive.
So did you drive yourself, or did your husband drive you?
My friend had actually drove both of us because
Gotcha.
he was in shock as well. Like
Yeah.
he didn't know what to say.
Exactly. I'm glad that someone drove you. I know that ride all too well.
It was definitely long.
It does take like the longest. 'Cause,
Yes.
When I got the word, kind of similar to how, you know, I was at my second job, and the Facebook was lit up, my phone was lit up, and they didn't want to tell me because
Right.
they knew I had to drive.
Right.
But I forced her to tell me before I drove. But I remember that drive from Chesapeake
And you probably
that
was
night.
like out. Don't even know how you got there.
I don't know how I got there.
Right.
It was the longest drive, so I could relate to that.
Right.
So basically, when you got finally there with your family and stuff, you know, what was going on with inside of you, the family, you know, things of that nature?
When I finally got there, at this point, my husband had already told them, I believe, that we were on the way because we had just got the word. Like literally, my dad was pronounced dead at, I believe, like 9:05. She was at my house at like 9:10, 9:15. And I got there, it wasn't even, I don't even remember how long, or, you know, again, it was a long drive.
Right.
But about the time I pulled up, the whole like street was like blocked off. We had to go through another part of the neighborhood to get to where they were. So when I got there, like my family's like running towards me, and I don't remember nothing. I don't remember nothing until I remember me walking up. I remember me like I kind of like fainted, but after that I don't remember nothing. And when I did like get it together, because the detective's like, look, you gotta snap out of it. We need to know what's going on. We need your phone. You know, I'm like, well, my mom.
So why did they need all of your stuff if you weren't at that when the crime happened? Why were they asking you for all of your stuff?
So they asked for our stuff because they didn't know if our dad had texted us or anything saying like, did someone was trying to hurt him, or maybe they thought that we did it, because at that point we were suspects as well.
Wow.
So they were like looking for our phone. Like they actually took my phone for a day.
Wow.
And so like they had my phone. I believe they had my sister's phones, because my sisters were the one that had called 911 as well, other than the neighbor that was next door. So I really didn't remember nothing. They did take my phone. They went through it. They went through his phone. My grandmother, about time I got out the detective car, I actually had seen him. I would never get an image out my head. They had, the way the street was, it was like he got killed in the parking lot that was along the main street of where my mom lived. So all that whole main street, which is like the Greenbrier area in Virginia Beach, was blocked off.
Gotcha.
So when you pulled up, you was like the light. They had that light all the way down to the next light. All that was blocked off.
And where were those? The street you said there was.
This is Rosemount.
Okay.
Like Rosemount, Lynn Haven. This
Gotcha.
is that area.
Gotcha.
So the neighborhood was called Manchester Village.
Gotcha. So everybody that's listening in, we're talking about Virginia Beach, Virginia, and she's speaking of a neighborhood where they found her father deceased. So at this point, everybody's a suspect.
Yes.
Nobody knows what happened. So who actually found him? And how did that?
So once my mom, because when I got there, my mom and my sisters, the police actually took them to the precinct. My mom didn't even know what was going on because, again, she was at work.
Yes.
And see, my dad, okay, so I'll take it back. My dad was picking up my younger sister to take her to work. She was working, but again, her car was broke down at my house. So he was taking her to work at Walmart. She was working at Walmart overnight in the Greenbrier area. And my middle sister was going back to New York. And it's so crazy how God works because she was actually supposed to have been gone like 2 days before his death. And her bus kept getting changed. It kept getting changed. So that night she was actually getting to leave to go back to New York. So he was picking them up. At the time, my younger sister had 2 kids, Landon and London. My nephew was 8 or 9 months at the time. He was with my sisters, but my niece was with their dad. And my dad was coming to pick them up to take my nephew to my aunt's house, which is my mom's younger sister. And he'd take Deja to work and take Brianna to the bus station. So when I got the story from them, it was she woke up late. She's asking him like, Dad, where you at? I'm just getting up. He's like, I'm on my way. They're getting themselves together. My nephew, he's crawling. They're in a townhome. So my sister had told me that when my dad pulled up, she was about to go downstairs and go to the car. But my younger sister said, no, because the baby gonna follow you. Let's just all walk out there together so you can help me take his stuff. So they said they heard the gunshots. But they didn't know that it was him because he actually had text my younger sister phone, Deja, and said, hurry up. But they thought that he was saying hurry up because the gunshots. Because, again, he wasn't like that. He wasn't in the streets or anything like that. So he heard gunshots. He's like, come on, let's go. And
exactly. We all
right.
Are ready to go.
He wasn't like that. So when they heard the gunshots, my sister, my middle sister bedroom, or I think it was Brianna's bedroom. When you would look out her window, you could see my mom's parking space.
Gotcha.
Because her parking space was behind her house. And she said when she looked out the window, she seen his windshield wipers were going. But this is summertime, no rain, it's hot, it's crap outside. And she like his windshield wipers were going. So she said when she finally went outside, my younger sister was still in the house. She said, my sister Deja said she heard my sister scream. She said it sounded like she was in a horror movie. And she said, I just knew something wasn't right. And she said they both just ran. So they ran towards him. And when they saw him, he was already gone. So they had to, call 911 and everything of that nature. So when I finally seen my sisters, they were covered in blood. When I did see them, when we finally got reunited, because the detectives have actually had me in their car the whole time because they didn't know. Right. Like he said, the killer could have been out here watching what's going on. And so they had me in their car until my mom and them pulled up with the police officers and things of that nature. They pulled back up to the scene. So that's what I had got when I got there.
So at this point, everybody's a suspect. They don't have any answers. All we know is that your father, he's gone. He's died to gun violence. Right. So how long did it take for the detectives to actually give y'all an answer on what happened actually that night?
So everybody was a suspect, friends, family, everybody, because everybody knew my dad. He was an iPhone freak, so Apple product freak. Right. So what he used to do was like jailbreak phones, and people would go to him to get their stuff fixed. And so when they were saying that he was robbed, they were thinking that any of his customers that he had met or anything of that nature, someone like that probably did it because he had a lot of Apple products in his car. So as like a month or two went by, or not even a month, it was like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we found out that he wasn't robbed. They was like, he wasn't robbed. It was just a random act of violence. It wasn't, he wasn't robbed.
Right.
So because everything that he had in his car, down even to his credit cards, his money, his wallet, his computer, everything, even his skates, because he used to skate a lot.
Oh, wow.
All that stuff was still in his car.
Wow.
So they were like, he didn't get robbed.
Wow.
So we didn't know, and at that point, you know, we listened to the detective, so we like, we're shut off-ish. We don't want to talk to no one. We don't know. We didn't know. So, you know, a lot of people like, they're being funny. We weren't being funny. It was just like, we just didn't know what to believe.
Exactly.
And at that point, my mom was out of it. I had to like set her a doctor's appointment to get checked because she wasn't sleeping. And if she did try to go to sleep, she's sleeping with all the lights on. And this happened at her home because at this point they were separated.
Yes.
So she wasn't staying at home. They had offered to like pay for a room for her and my sisters to stay in, but we just stayed at my grandmother's house, or they stayed at my house with me.
And you know, that feeling is a bad feeling all too, you know, I know it all too well as well, because then you get the assumptions, you get the rumors of what everybody wants to say could have happened.
Yes.
You know, so those parts are bad. So I get it about not wanting to talk to people, shut down, all of those facts. And plus, you were going through trauma.
Right.
But people don't understand that, you know.
And I was like, I tell everybody to this day, because I had to be like the voice at the time, and I tell everybody I didn't want to be selfish, because I'm like, my sisters was there. They had to endure it. So, and they saw it firsthand. So when it came down to people wanting to ask them questions, I felt like I had to protect them. Like, don't ask them anything, or don't look at them that way, because they were like having like moments. They were zoned out. They could just be staring at you. You're talking to them, but they're just like in a blank stare. Because there's like, that was my dad too, but that was their dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just was really protective over them and my mom at the time. So I did not play when it came down to them. I was trying to like be strong for myself, but only because of them. And my grandmother too, his mom, because she had to be the one to identify his body that night, because they wouldn't let me do it, because they said I was like blinking out, like just random, like hydrated and sweated, because I didn't know. And I was just so worried about my mom and them. I had put my feelings to the side. And when my mom finally did get to the scene, she just went off, because she didn't know. Again, she was at work. Her sister called her, because my sisters called my aunt, and so she called the job, because she had used to work at the same place my mom was working at, and got her to come home, but she wouldn't come. My mom wouldn't get off work. She's like, just tell me what's going on. They like, my aunt's like, she said, it's Guy. And that was that. So a couple of people that was working with my mom, they was able to get off too, to take her to the scene and, you know, be there for her at that time. Because I wasn't there. I didn't, like, again, I was at home. I was asleep.
Right. So, and I'm glad you said your father's name, and I'd like for you to say it again every time, and let people, you know, say his name as much as possible. I just feel like I can't even imagine what your sisters went through in their minds, because I'm almost certain that they blame themselves a lot.
They do.
Because from what I heard about Guy Cuffey, am I saying it Cuffey right?
Yes.
Yes, what I heard about him, he was a protective man of his daughters, and a part of him traveling to take them to work was to make sure that they were secure and getting to work at night. So he would travel from Portsmouth.
He was living
Virginia?
in Chesapeake at
Chesapeake.
the time.
Okay, Chesapeake to Virginia Beach, right? So to make sure that, you know, your sisters
coming to my house, going to their house in Virginia Beach, and going home.
And this was just an everyday routine?
This was like an every other day, because he also worked in Portsmouth as well.
Gotcha.
So it was like, oh, well, let me stop past your house. Okay, let me go see my grandkids and my other daughters, and I'm going home.
Yeah, and the senseless death is just so unfair, so wrong. So we can speed up to like everything else about his story and, you know, what you want to say about the perpetrators, the murderer that murdered your father. Let's talk about it. Let people know, you know, what's going on, what happened.
Right.
I mean, it's a closed case now? Or?
Yeah, it's considered closed now.
Okay, so are you allowed to say, you know, things about it? Okay, I just wanted to make sure to protect y'all. Okay, so definitely be the voice for your family, and be the voice for yourself as well, and your mother. Let's just talk about the real facts.
So, my father, Guy, when he was murdered, again, we didn't know who did it. We had a thing, because we all worked at Greenbrier Skating. Everybody knew my dad, all the kids knew him, the whole family, because we all worked at Greenbrier Skating Rink in Chesapeake, Virginia. So when it all came out, I had did an event called Skate for Justice, because like I got it tatted on my leg. He used to skate a lot, so we had did an event that week, and it was about December, I want to say. And that same week, we ended up finding out who had did it. The detectives kept us on point with everything, because at this point, our inboxes was getting flooded from people that we didn't know. They were saying people names, and we was, you know, you were calling a detective every time you hear this, you hear that.
Yeah.
And I told them, I don't want to worry you, but I just want y'all to stay on top of it. I don't want it to be like another black on black crime, and it's just like, oh, it is what it is. We're not going to find out who did it. So we stayed on top of it. And the detectives, I love them. Like, if we see them, they know exactly who we are. We know who they are. We see them. They hug us all the time. They were so sweet to us. We found out who did it. They called us in. We went to Virginia Beach Precinct. They told us, they set us down, and they were just saying, like, your dad, we could not find anybody that would want to hurt him, anybody who hated him. We went through his phone. We seen him saying he wanted to take his daughters to Bahamas. He wanted to plan this trip. He wanted to do this. And before they could even tell us, they're like teary-eyed, because they're like, this was a great man. And they just, this is slapping on the table and said, this is the man who did it. And we just like all started crying, because when we saw his picture, we knew who he was.
Wow.
And that night that my dad had got killed, after everything, everybody's leaving and everything, that same guy had drove up on us. And I guess he was looking for somebody, and he thought that my cousin was someone. And he kind of like went on my cousin, like going to him, and we scared, like we don't know who you are. And we called them that night and was like, this man is in the green side array. He just, pulled up on us, and his friends were telling him to get in the car. And when we saw that picture, we knew it was him.
What?
So, and the police could even, they even knew that we had called, we called them as soon as it happened. And we told them, even that day, we're like, well, if you guys would have pursued that car that night, then we would have been able to get answers.
This was the same night when everybody was standing around trying to figure out who did this, or everybody was suspects, and he was out there knowing that he murdered your father.
Yes, ma'am.
How cold-blooded is that?
Right.
How evil is that?
Right.
Wow.
So that's why me and my sisters, we were like, we didn't do any we felt like we didn't do our part, because we should have told them, like, no, please go follow behind that car. Please go do this, because we just had that feeling. Because we like, why are you so angry? And you're at a murder scene, you're just so angry right now. It just didn't feel right. So, and then that was the same guy that everybody was telling us about, that people that we didn't know, like, this guy is known to be a serial killer. He likes killing people. He does this for a living. And, that's what he does. He was like a hitman.
Wow.
So, all we know was when they kind of gave us the story that they had got, it was just basically like it was a shootout on August the 10th, which was that Monday before my dad got killed. It was a shootout. He was paid to kill someone. He didn't get him. So that next day he went out there trying to, get this guy, and he couldn't get him.
So the guy happened to live out Manchester Village?
The guy that he wanted to kill.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But we don't know where he lived at.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
we didn't know.
It's just, we assumed that he
Yeah.
came back out to try to kill this guy.
Yes, and-
murder for hire. Or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And when he came out there, he missed them and they had a shootout that night.
Mm-hmm.
And from what his friends that were with him, he told them that the next person that ride in this neighborhood, I'm gonna kill him.
Wow.
And my dad just happened to be the one riding in the neighborhood, and he killed
So
him.
you just randomly decide you're just gonna murder somebody just because
Just because.
it's so sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. I can't even understand like the
Right.
concept of that.
Right.
Just to take someone's life,
Right.
like that is crazy to me.
Right.
So, keeping on with the story, they found out that. How did they find out that it was him? Was it because it kept circulating around?
Well,
Or-
they found out it was him because him and his girlfriend had actually got killed. I believe this was like September of that same year. They got killed at 7-Eleven with their child in the backseat. The police had actually killed them.
Wow. And
And-
so a month, your dad dies in August,
Mm-hmm.
and he died a senseless death because an evil person, and that's what I'm going to call him. I'm going to call it
Yes.
what it is, because you don't have a right to take a life.
Right.
Turns around and gets murdered a month later.
Right. Him
Wow.
and his girlfriend.
So, are you allowed to say their names? Mm-hmm. Okay, what were their names?
His name was Angelo Perry and her name was India Kager.
Okay. And they got killed at 7-Eleven. So basically, what was behind all of this? Like, and then with the child in the car, I feel sorry
Right.
for the baby.
Right.
I do. And I mean, I don't want anyone to die.
Right.
But what led up to their murder?
Well, I can just talk about what happened I can pretty much say what happened in court. So now there's
Gotcha.
proven facts.
You mean your dad's court date?
Well, my dad really didn't have a court date.
Okay.
They had a court date because her mom wanted to sue Virginia Beach Police Department for a
Okay.
wrongful death suit.
Gotcha.
Over her daughter, but of course his name is attached, so it was like for the both of them pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, actually, that's when they went to court about January, February. Virginia District Attorney Office had reached out to me and told us that they were going to be going to court, and just to be prepared because it was going to be on the news about my dad, Guy, and their death as well.
Okay.
So they wanted just us to be prepared because he said people probably, people are probably going to come to you and want to ask questions just to see how you feel about it. And he pretty much just said, not watch what I say. He just wanted me to just be. No, he didn't want that anger, because he knew I was angry. The detectives knew I was angry because, again, I was holding my stuff in to be there for my sisters and my mom. So they just wanted us to be prepared. And then he also wanted us to come in and the attorney, district attorney, Commonwealth attorney, wanted us to come and sit in as well to listen to everything. And I did this. I wanted to because I wanted to know everything. So they went to court. She was trying to sue them for like a little over $1 million, I believe. What happened was this is the facts that they said leading up to their death. Basically, she was married, and her and Angelo had a relationship. She was cheating on her husband pretty much, and she had a baby. And Angelo drove to Maryland to, I guess, meet up with her to see about the baby and I guess meet her family and things of that nature. And I guess he got dropped off there. That's pretty much what they were saying. So he got dropped off in Maryland and she brought him back to Virginia. And it was said that night that she was driving him back to Virginia, he was going to do another hit. Correct. He had 2 guns in the car, and one of the guns was one of the murder weapons he used on my dad and other murders and other crimes that he had committed leading up to his death, which was like it was like that summer he was just doing different acts of violence.
A lot of people during that summer that your dad died, were there other people that got murdered by him?
Yes.
There are a lot of deceased people from Angelo. Okay. And he was on a spree.
Yeah, he killed one guy. He robbed the older lady. It was like different things that he had did.
Right.
And actually, I don't know if his mom wanted me to say his name, but I keep in contact with her as well.
Yeah.
So he had killed him and, you know, robbed a couple of people, everything with these murder weapons that he had in his car that night he was with, coming back from Maryland to Virginia. And they stopped at a 7-Eleven. It was told that the guy that he was going to kill or retaliate on, he was already working with the police. So it was like he was telling them where he was and everything of that nature. So they kind of knew where he was coming to, and the police followed him, and they showed the video of them making like all these crazy turns, like they knew they was being followed, and they went to the 7-Eleven, and he shot at the police, and the police shot back, into the car, and they killed her, killed him, and the baby was still alive.
Oh, wow. Poor, I really feel sorry for the child as well. So at this point, what leads up to all these other feelings that happened recently, like current events, as far as, you know, how this stuff has affected you and your family, knowing that these people, now are they saying she was an accessory with this, or she just happened to be riding, taking someone back?
They tried to say like, well, her parents, well, her mom was trying to say that basically her and this guy never dated. They weren't in this, they weren't in that. She didn't know anything, but I didn't feel that way. You driving with a man who had guns in the car and your baby's in the backseat. You knew that he had those guns in the car. And like, I'll tell anybody, she had a choice. My other guy did not have a choice. So like, you knew what you were getting yourself into, pretty much. So with me, like, even when that happened, you know, that was all over the news as well. I'm like, oh wow, this is sad. You know, I felt bad. I didn't want, even with Angelo, I didn't wish for this man to die.
Right.
I didn't want to. Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want for that to happen to neither one of them, because like I said, I would rather him have his day in court so I could get my answers that I really, really needed. So I didn't want that to happen, but when it did, you know, we didn't know it was him until December. This happened in September. And when we found out, we're like, a sense of relief, because he's not walking around hurting anybody else, but it just made us even angrier, because now we knew that he was going to be getting media attention, because people are not knowing that he has a backstory to the reason why the police did that.
Gotcha. And as far as media attention, what kind of media attention did Angelo get? Like, what was it that...
They were doing protests. They had signs up saying police brutality against Angelo Perry. Sometimes his name was getting mentioned more than her name was getting mentioned, and that was upsetting me, because I'm like, this man does not deserve that. I felt like people are so quick to say police brutality against black people, but then what about black on black crime? So it's like, it's like you're contradicting, and I don't like that. So it just made me angry, because I'm like, this man killed other black people. When the police kill him, it's like it's Black Lives Matter. Like, okay, Black Lives Matter, but what about, again, black on black crime? If Black Lives Matter, so why are we killing each other? So I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And you put I feel like he put her in that situation. Be mad at him. Don't be mad at the police. Be mad at him. He put your daughter in that situation. She put herself in that situation. That's being honest.
You know, I agree with you 100%. We have to look at every avenue of it. Right. Basically, you don't give fame to someone of that nature at all. Right. They're, like you said, lives are gone. No one wants to see anybody gone. Right. Like, not that way. Right. And then I'm almost certain the guns he had wasn't even registered to him, but it was a lot of people's lives that were on those guns. A lot of deaths, a lot of, you know, Guy Cuffeys and whoever else he murdered. You know what I'm saying? So I feel it's unfair. I feel it's unjust to give someone, you know, that type of, you know, I don't even know how to say it, just that type of
like the attention, like I didn't.
So at this point now, you know, I have heard about like Justice for India Kager as well, because they're basically saying that was police brutality. But knowing the story and hearing it from you, we have to make choices in life. As I used to tell my children, or even I'm sure you're going to tell yours, you need to know who you're around, who you're riding with, who you're going with, because also, like, I could attest to people that I know that are felons. Felons know that if you even smell a gun, or you're next to a gun, even if you didn't know it was there and they find it, where are you going? Back to jail. So you have to be conscious about who you're dealing with, who you're around, and then to say, you know, God forbid a mother lost her child, but that pain your father's mother had to feel. You understand? So everybody's going through the pain process, but sometimes, you know, choices aren't always the right choices. And then a poor baby that was in the back seat of a car, I get that, because thank God she's here, you know.
And I feel like everybody's just looking for a good storyline. So you hear about my dad, Guy Cuffey, who was killed by another black man, but then you hear about a man who was on a killing spree, and his girlfriend with their baby in the backseat get killed by the police. They're gonna run with that more than the back end of everything. So when they were getting that much media attention, even though my dad and his stuff, we pretty much knew this man did it, it's like, no. Anytime I seen her mom post a video, anytime I'm posting one too,
because it reminds you every time.
And that's what I wanted people to understand. Like her being triggered, or her triggers about her daughter, it's gonna bring up our past and our triggers as well. Because when you mention her name, you're gonna mention Angelo too.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be mentioned.
I get where you're coming from. She's saying her daughter was innocent, right? Your father was innocent too. And I get that. Choices that were made, or however he made his way to you and got back, you have to, you know, she says, I guess you're saying she didn't know him at all, but how do you get a man in your car that's from Maryland and bring him all the way back to Virginia? I mean, hey, facts have to be told, you know, regardless of the uncomfortable conversations, and so you're here today mainly to express your hurt, your concerns, and about how you feel the police are portrayed in certain situations, and also how your father's death was it's kind of like it was being overlooked after a while because of this murderer, right? Has his family, does his family ever spoke out? Like, what are, you know,
his wife had actually found, because he was married to, it was like a big mess. His wife reached out to me on Facebook, and she didn't have no remorse for me. She didn't have no remorse for my family. She just was like, how do you know that he did that? Well, he wasn't messing with her. They just had a baby together. And I'm like, well, this is facts. You're saying that he had a baby by this woman. And like her mom, even like India's mom, she posts, because she was in the military, she posts this military picture of her everywhere, like her being a good citizen. But when you go on her Facebook page, you see when she started messing with Angelo, her image began to change. She was wearing pretty hair, then she started getting piercings on her face, wearing dreads. She was portraying the guy that she was dating. So she knew him. You might not have known him. You being her mom, she might not have want to bring him around you because she knew who he was. Like, did you not think of those things as well? So it's like, I just felt like, be mad at him. I took up for the police when it came down to that, because again, you shot at the police, they're gonna shoot back. Right. And just like, I mean, like, if my dad probably had something to protect this stuff, you shot at him, he's gonna shoot back. But my dad didn't. So I just didn't like that it was just being portrayed. I just didn't like that it was just being portrayed like this is police brutality, but this is also Black Lives Matter. And it's like, well, let's know the back end story. Let me tell you why this thing's happened to this man. Because you do hear about the police killing people and things of that nature. But it's for no reason. They have video to prove it. And but this right here, this has a whole nother story.
And you're basically saying it was justifiable because he shot back at the cops at that time, that, you know, that is their job to protect themselves as well, because outside of, you know, the suit that they wear, they're somebody's family member as well. we're not talking about the infractions of, unlawful police officers that need to be in there, but we are saying that there are cops out here that, because I have a friend that's a police officer too, so I can't say every cop is a bad cop. And at that time, it was to protect. And then at that night, he was about to do another crime that night. So if he was not going to do anything at that point,
why not surrender?
Why not say, my hands is up? He's dead now, so we can't answer why he thought and did what he did. Unfortunately, with him also another life got lost, and I get what you're saying. Why aren't they looking at him? Because even though she made the choice to drive him, he didn't care enough about her life and her child's life. When he got out to have a shootout with the police. Okay, so I get it, and you have every right to feel that way, and continue to uplift your father's name, and talk about it. Tell his story.
I still do. I've actually gotten better because people ask questions like, well, what happened with this, and we didn't hear anything, and I used to just bust out crying at the drop of a dime. I used to just because again, I held so much stuff in. I just held it in. So when I did do it, have my time, it was I couldn't lift myself back up.
Absolutely. And you go through so much when you lose someone that's important, someone that everybody cared about. It's hard. People cannot tell you how to feel. People cannot tell you how to get over it or cope with it, So I get all of the feelings, and I'm sure those triggers, you have triggers, they come and go. And when people are asking you these things, maybe some people don't understand because they haven't went through it, but people need to understand and give people those moments and stop making up rumors and stop saying this, and
because I'll tell anybody, this wasn't he passed of old age or he was sick or anything. This was my dad was healthy. He was very, very healthy. Guy was very healthy. Like I said, he worked out, skated a lot. Everybody knew him. Funny, goofy, all of that. And for you to just that type of death, I would never imagine that would have happened to him. I would have never thought this would have happened to him. And that's why I was so angry, because I'm you could have died of old age. You could have passed away from an illness that we didn't know about, but somebody actually hurting you
senselessly.
I don't get it. Because you didn't know him.
And I get the part about not having the justice, not having the answers, because the justice with this Angelo dead doesn't give y'all justice. All it does is give you more grief. Because you still hold inside the questions and why. Why did you do this to my dad? You understand? And I can relate to that all too well, but I still call it coward moves, because it's not fair that y'all have to relive this every time his birthday comes, or every time you have a memory of something. You're gonna relive this, and this is what people need to hear. This is what people need to hear as far as what the children go through, what the grandchildren go through, and what the mothers, everybody goes through. So and that's why I can't really understand why her mother did not understand the pain of you guys. I understand she probably was going through the processes of losing her child, because I know that all too well, and the anger, and she's going through her processes. But I would definitely tell everyone, and I don't know if y'all have this, seek some counseling. It helps you a little to know your triggers.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that, because we in the cultural,
we don't say nothing.
We be like, what are we good?
We did it. My sisters did. My sisters, we actually went through a church counseling program.
Okay, great.
And because every day around 9 o'clock, they just would hear the gunshots.
Exactly.
And they would just zone out, and it was just things that we was holding on to, and they you have to release those. You have to find something to release that, because you having it all backed up, that stress, it can hurt you. That stress can hurt you. And that was something that I had to do because I was upset, but I was more angry. I was holding it, and it was just making me angry. Like anything would just piss me off. Like someone looking at me, I'm just angry.
Exactly.
But I didn't like how that, because I've never been like that.
Exactly.
But I was just angry all the time. I was mean. I was angry. My sister would cry. I would just be angry.
Right.
And we did like a lot of prayer, a lot of counseling, and it just really made us stronger. Like when it came down to like me, my sisters, and my mom, because we all just like we just stick together.
It's like you're like, okay, where are you at? Text me, call me, let me know when you get in. Oh, love you, good morning, whatever, right? So and then it's so much that I can say to you, like relatable, but I know that you were thankful that you got to talk to him that day, right? And those are some of the memories you can keep through the pain of losing your dad. Functional, yes, that's what we are. You're functional. Probably still go through depression. You still go through PTSD, anxiety.
Yes, I have really bad anxiety. I don't like sitting in my car for a long time.
Exactly.
I don't like sitting in the car. I have to lock. It's like OCD in a way. I have to make sure all my windows locked in my house, everything locked. I just can't, like someone say, if I tell you I'm pulling up, that means you need to be outside, because I don't like to sit. Being that happened to him sitting in his car, I don't like to sit in my car like for a long, like it's at nighttime pretty much. I don't like sitting in my car anymore.
And every time you see someone, you're like on guard. You're like, what? Like,
too close.
Who are you? Get away from me. I get it. Is there anything else that you would like to say today, and let everybody know, just anything that may be able to help someone through any type of trauma, or just everything, like just everything in general that happened? Is there anything else that you feel that you want to say today?
All I can say is, for people that have lost someone to gun violence, you definitely want to talk about it, whether you writing it down in a journal or you just remembering like memories, like writing that stuff down, looking at pictures, because that stuff does help. Don't try to dwell on the death. You need to dwell on the life, because I had to do that, because anytime I would say my dad's name or we were talking about him, I would just think about when he died, or I wouldn't even think about the good memories and stuff like that. I would just always think about the death, and I stopped thinking about the death because he lived a wonderful life. It wasn't, I might have thought this was his plan of how he was supposed to die, but it was already written. So I can't be upset. I'm mad that he's not here to this day. I'm still angry that he's not here. I wish he was here, because his grandkids definitely love him, miss him. It's just that, just talking about it, just talking about it. Like me doing this today, it helps, because again, at first you could not have paid me to do this.
Right.
I couldn't even sit here and just have.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I couldn't do it, because I would have just bust out crying and just saying I can't do it.
I'm proud of you.
But this definitely does help, and I just feel like people just talk about it, especially when it's stuff like this.
Yes.
Whether it's black on black crime or police brutality, just talk about it.
Yes.
Get it out there. Let them remember their name.
Exactly.
Let them remember their name. Don't let their name go in vain, and just live your life every day to the fullest, because you never know.
Absolutely. And I want you to. Speaking of which, when you said, I love the fact that I think we need to repeat that again this year. Justice for Skating is what it's called.
Yeah.
I think you need to do that every year, and let me know when you're going to do it. It's in December that y'all.
Well, we did it that one time because we worked there, like my whole family worked there for 10 years, a little over 10 years, and so we know the owner. wanted to continue to do that because when the first one we did, we had actually got people to come out and talk different. It was like 5 different people that came out and got to talk about, or you know, over the mic and say their kid's name or their brother, their son, or whatever the case may be, about what happened to them. People that didn't seek justice or haven't gotten justice.
Right.
We did it that way. I really want to do that.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it again.
Okay.
And I'm down for it. You know, if I have to, and if y'all don't mind, we can get together. We can spin off from my nonprofit and just do it. And what date was it? Because I think you should make it like the anniversary date and repeat it.
Okay. I believe we did it like December 13th.
Okay.
It was like around that time. If not that date, Miss Sheila, that's the
So
only
it was on a Saturday, right?
Yeah, it was on like a Sunday night.
Oh,
like
okay.
From like 5 to 7.
Okay, so let's plan for one, and every year we will remember Guy Cuffey and the others that were lost, because justice still needs to be served.
Right.
Justice is a lot of families, you know, that haven't got justice, but I think that is such a powerful thing to do, and it's also keeping his memory alive because it's something that he loved to do. And that's another way to coping with it. Yes,
you're definitely right.
So I love it. When you said that, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So we will get together on that. I truly appreciate you so much. I appreciate your strength. I love your mom because she loved my son so dearly too.
I actually
and
met
it's crazy. I didn't know that, but it's crazy how the circles connect so much. You just never know how this 360 circle is what I call it, goes back, and so many of us, so many of us that are still going through or suffering. But it's important for us to continue on, and this, to me, justice for skating is his legacy. Right. That's what I get from it. And I'm like, I'm getting chills right now. So I think, we got time. We're gonna plan it. And get it out there. Definitely.
Yeah,
okay.
we can do that.
And I appreciate, you know, y'all doing this so much, and I want to thank your sisters, your mother, and everybody too. And you're the rock. I know that. And the rock has to take care of itself too. You have to do self-care. Right. Understood. So, but I thank you for doing this, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mask Off, where we tell it exactly the way it is. Be sure to tune in each and every week for brand new episodes featuring real people, real issues, and real solutions. Mask Off by Shauna Turner.